Hi, welcome back to the another video on Angular CRUD operation. So this is going to be the third part of the video, that is update the records on db.json file. So in this video we are going to see how we can update the records. So right, in the last video we added the records using this form and we displayed all the records in this home component. So now in this video we are going to learn how to update or edit the records. So let's start. So this is our home component where we are displaying all the records. So I will just add a link here to edit or edit here. So let's say action. So I will add a routing here, student, and we will pass the ID, means which record we are going to edit or update. So this routing does not exist yet, so let's define the routing. So go to the routing file, duplicate this routing, and this will be a URL. So means student/id. So we are going to use the same form component to update the record, right? So our routing is ready, and we are just navigating from edit link to the form. So let's see we are able to navigate or not. So we have an edit button here. So once we click edit, so we are able to see the form again. You can see the URL also with the ID. So now we have to fetch all the data to fill in the form. Means we will populate the same data in this form and we will update it. So to do that, so go to the home component, I mean the student component. So here first we have to read this ID. So what we have to do is we have a service here or dependency injection router, route. The name is activated route, means the current route. So here what we will do is let's create a student ID of type any. This is the student ID from the URL we are getting, and let's assign this value. So this dot route dot snapshot dot rm maps dot get. So the ID we have get. Now we have to fill the data. So let's call a function if student ID, means if we have student ID in the URL, so we will call a function get student details, and we will pass this dot student ID, and let's create a function here. Student ID. So now we have to create a service function also. So let's move to the same service function. So this function is already created. This is to fetch all the data, but we have to fetch a specific one. So let's create the same name function. It's not necessary to create the same name, but we can create anything. So here let's say we will get student ID and copy the same one and just modify the URL. So it will give the detail of one student. So let's call this from this service file, this dot service dot get student details, pass the student ID and subscribe. So now this detail is going to be returned the same name or the same attribute. So name, email and contact, these attribute will be same in the response, so we can directly map those values to the student form. So how we can do that? This dot form, our student form dot patch value. So patch value means we are updating the form details. So once the form will load, I mean, if there is a ID in the URL, so we'll call this function. This function will fetch all the details of that student and it will populate to the form. So let's see. So yes, you can see if we refresh the page. So we have this API call, and this API call returning the data, and it is just populating into the form. We have to update, instead of add a student, it should be update a student. Similar for button also. So what we can do is, we have a student ID here in the form component. So I mean in the home component. So in the home component HTML, what we can do here, instead of sorry, not in home component, actually in the student component. So instead of add here, what we can do is, if student ID, so update, otherwise it will be a add string. Similarly here also, yes, so it is now update student. So how it is going to update? So we need to do some modification in the submit logic we have written last time. So in the student component we have this function, right? So this function does save the data. So here also we will pass this student ID form value as well as this dot student ID, and we have to receive the same ID here also, student ID of type any, and we have to do one conditional statement here if this dot student ID. So what we will do is, we will call the same data with put method, and we have to just bind with the ID as well, student ID. So we will call the same function. We are making use of same form, same function. So this function will be executed once we hit the submit button, and if there is an ID in the URL, so it is going to update the data, otherwise it is going to save the data, new data. So let's see. Let's close all files, db.json. So go to the home component. So let's edit this first record. So I'm going to change the name of this. Let's say Kumar 123. So data is updated. We need to redirect as well. So let's go to the home component as well. So we see the data is updated. We need to redirect also once the data is saved. So go to the again home component. So once the data is saved successfully, so what we have to do is, we have to redirect. To redirect this, you need to inject one more library or dependency injection, that is router, not the router. So what it will do is, this dot router dot navigate simply blank string. So let's edit the second one. Update. Yes, so second one is also updated. Similarly, let's try third one. So yeah, so third one is also updated. So this is how we have seen that how we can update the records or update the data using the similar same form whatever we have used for the adding the new record. So I hope you have understand the steps what I have followed here. I will link the source code in the description also, so please check it out, and you can also watch previous videos also about the Angular CRUD operations which I have added. And guys, please subscribe. So you can see here in the channel analytics, at least 1% of the people are not subscribing, so please subscribe guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. So let's see the final video in the next episode. Thank you.